right time.
Colman and Marco, my first question's for you guys. Your character, Colman Danny, is part of a unique dynamic with Claude. And I'm wondering, how did your real life friendship influence your on-screen chemistry? Because you guys are so cute. And I remember sitting with my sister and both of us were like, that's like love. Like, that's like real love. Somebody's so caring. The other one's sort of like, they're both very complimentary. So, yeah, I would love to hear how you guys, brought that to life.
I'll try to kick this off pretty quickly. We met just a year prior to shooting this. A friend just at an event together, and then we ended up at another party together, and we became fast friends, these two couples, me and my husband, and Marco and his husband. And then we went to, just a random dinner date over at their house, and afterwards, this is why we were starting to do casting, and we were thinking about who would play my husband. And my husband, Raul, said, "What about Marco?" And I said, "Oh, Marco," but I knew Marco as a writer-director, and his husband is a very formidable actor. Very well-known actor, and
his name is Marco as well.
Who's also named Marco. I said, well, that Marco. I said, Marco's kind of younger. He said, no, Marco Calvani. I said, really? I said, well, let me just adjust him to Tina. He said, well, I don't know. I don't know if he still acts. I called him. I said, would you mind putting yourself on tape? He put himself on tape. Tina presented two wonderful options after they looked at hundreds of people and said, one of the people we love is your friend Marco. And I said, what? Are you kidding? And I saw his tape and I thought, oh, that's my husband.
Oh. And here it is, the writer-director, suddenly an actor again. Thank you.
But I just thought that he brought something so fresh and unique, and it felt like, and already our pretty new friendship, we just immediately loved each other, and I just felt like we could be playful with each other, and we can interrogate scripts and just the language of like creating work together. We already had a fascination with each other so. I think that's already like baked into the cake, and then we just let it fly.
Yeah, and also this true love and respect and admiration here and desire to work together. And then you add to this, also this, then when we got to set, there was Tina and Steve and Will and Kerri. Like, the love became bigger, and immediately we bonded. Yeah. We bonded, and we melt, immediately the fears into all the fears that each one of us had. All together, we did a collective fire, and it became like strength, and I'm glad that you can perceive that through the whole show. And trust me, I felt like, what am I doing here? Like, these are legends here next to me. I was like,
I will say, I felt like Claude felt like the viewer's friend. Like, he brought everybody.
Yes. That's exactly it.
I love that so much. That was so fun watching. Yeah, it was beautiful. And Anne, I want to ask you, Kerri, I want to ask you about Anne. Her boat scene is so funny and also very raw, and I felt like I knew somebody who's like that. Like, they just don't help themselves. It was so good, though. Funny scene. I think my sister and I were laughing really hard, but how do you tap into that kind of honest self-sabotage? Because it was very raw.
It's interesting that you say, how do I tap into that kind of raw self-sabotage? On a daily basis, minute by minute, I'm trying to get out of raw self-sabotage. So I don't have to tap into it. I just have to relax into my true nature. She's messy and chaotic and so desperately wants connection. That's not a stretch for me, for better or for worse. But I think getting the opportunity to see a full journey of a character, I am so grateful, because the imagined connection that she had with her friends and family at the very beginning that very quickly becomes untethered allowed me to get to take that journey and have people come along with the journey of watching the floating in space and the flailing, and then ultimately coming back around to new connection. It's all in the writing, it's all in the words, it's all Tina Fey, Tracy, and Lang. They just handed it to me, and I just had to relax into it, and it was already all there.
Yeah. The fact that you guys were laughing about that, I'm wondering, what was the scene that cracked you up the most? Because I will say, the candle in the wind had me really wondering, how did you guys balance the emotion of the scene with the comedy? Because, Terry's in the back singing over very sad news.
Well, Toby Huss is a longtime friend of mine. He's been on Reno 911 100 times. And I had no part of the casting of the boyfriend. And Tina said, "What about Toby Huss?" And I said, "Oh, I know. Yeah, absolutely." When he said Kerndl, do yourself a favor. Pause the moment you realize what the song is, because you don't know in the beginning what is. The minute you know what, I have paused 100 times. Colman's reaction when he realizes what song it is priceless.
Uh-huh.
We were laughing out loud.
We were laughing because we heard Kerndl in the wing. What? I'm laughing thinking about it. It was just that was a funny scene for all of us. I think it was just one of the best ones. Yeah. Anytime we're just around a table, anytime it's the whole group, it's just really funny. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of emotion in this show, and it's not just the humor too, but like, were there any moments that caught you off guard about how deep you had to tap in for something? Because I mean, Nick's death, and again, we can get into spoilers, that was a big loss for everybody. And I'm hoping we can see season 2 where everybody's sort of grieving through those emotions through those seasons.
Yeah, we're hoping too.
yeah, same here. I think anytime there were scenes when we were called on to, each character has, and maybe it's in episode 6, where surprising realizations of how they feel, and how, the depth of how they feel, of possibly losing their partner over an accident. You're like, oh my God, I didn't realize how devastated I was, or how I've been hiding a feeling. And it's like that for every character. So I feel like that episode I think for all of us, was very emotional.
So much loss. I think Anne she'd already lost her husband. I think now she was realizing she might also lose her daughter, which is the only thing that she has left. Colman directed that episode, and as an actor, being directed by an Academy Award nominated actor.
Two times.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. It felt delicious and...
Yeah, really, you held our hands.
I like being in there with my fellow actor. I feel like it's like it's just being part of the birthing of it all. That's what we do together, That is my pleasure. Thank you.